to use Unity, you're going to need a very specific version of Unity, and you need to get all of this sorted before you start, as I have, including a Unity account. So let's open the Unity Hub. Unity Hub. Okay, so this is our Unity Hub, and this is where we can open different Unity projects under different Unity versions. And you can see that I use it quite a lot. It's also logged into my account, and we are going to create a new Unity project. So we need to click on the arrow there to select the correct version of Unity, and we want to choose 2019 2.12 F1 because that's the version that works with the current Altspace uploader. And again, we're going to call this 3D model project. For example, you can call it whatever you want. And we're going to set our location to the same as our 3D project in the Unity folder. I'm going to select the folder there and create. And you can download Unity and the Unity Hub program from the unity3d.com website, and you can find new versions and old versions of Unity download in their archive. So they go all the way back to Unity 3. We're using Unity 2019, and you can find the exact version by scrolling down and selecting, and you can install it via Unity Hub. Okay, so we're going to skip the new version. We're going to keep working with this one, and we're going to move on to the basics of Unity, as it were. So in this window, you can see your project hierarchy. This lists all the contents of the current scene, and your current scene is the scene that's here. This is like your 3D viewer that you had in Blender. The inspector is going to display the properties of whatever you have selected in your scene. So if I click on the light, you see the inspector populates with the attributes of the light, and camera, it does the same again. So I can select them in the hierarchy and it will change them over. Now underneath that we have our project window, and this is basically the file structure of our project where all of our 3D models, our textures and other game content are going to be stored. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import the edited model. So we need to right click in our assets folder. We are going to create a new folder here, and we're going to call that model. And that's where we're going to bring our model into. So let's click inside model, and this time we're going to import a new asset. So this section here. So then we're going to navigate to the OBJ that we've just exported. So let's go to Desktop, 3D Project, Blender, and our model OBJ. So we're going to import that. And we're going to then import the mesh room model texture. So that is in a separate folder. So we're going to right click, import new asset, and we're going to go into our model folder, our mesh room cache, texturing, long alphanumeric, and there's our texture there. So we're going to import that here. Boom. Right, so we're now going to create a material and apply the texture that we've just imported into it. So we're going to go to the right click in the model folder, create, and we're going to create this time a material. And there's our material there. We'll just call that material. So for our material that we've just created, we're going to drag the texture folder over to the albedo, which is up here. Boom. And now our texture is applied to the material. And we can use that then to color our model. So let's drag our model into the sample scene in the hierarchy here. And you can see that our model has now appeared. So this model then needs to have the right material applied to it. So let's do that. So we drag our material over and we drop it onto the model, just like that. So you can now see our 3D model in the scene. So you can use the mouse wheel to scroll in and out. You can use it to pan the camera around, and you can use your right click to look about the scene as well. And when you have the right click selected on your mouse, you can also move in and out and around your scene using the WASD keys, as well as Q and E to go up and down. Okay, so what we want to do is make our model solid. And we want to do that, by selecting model down in the assets folder in the project view. And we then want to select model, and we want to generate the colliders. So this selection here. And click apply. And now our model is solid. So this means that when we import our model into AltSpace, we don't just fall through it. Like it's got colliders on it, and now it's a solid surface. We can't walk through the model. We can't pass through it. Okay, so the next thing is to get rid of our extra camera. We don't need that. So select it in the hierarchy, right click and delete. We then want to insert a plane underneath our model so that when you step off the edge, you don't fall through the world. So we're going to go to our hierarchy window again, right click, 3D object, and create a plane. Boom. So our plane has positioned itself underneath. We want it a bit closer than that, so let's reposition it. 0, 0, 0. And then use the tools above the hierarchy window. So we've got, similar to in Blender, we have a rotate tool, a scale, and a move tool. We're going to keep it simple and just use those as necessary. So the arrows on the X, Y, and Z plane, again, will move things around. So let's center it on our statue, and so that it just appears underneath it. Okay, so we can slightly adjust things here. So minus 0.5, minus 1. Yeah, so that's minus 0.1, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so we don't really want a great big white square underneath our model. So we're going to create a new material to look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So we're going to right click in assets again. We are going to create a new material again. So down here. And we're going to call this transparent. As such. Okay, so our transparent material is not going to be opaque, it's going to be transparent. And in the color here, we're going to drop the transparency, the A factor, down to 0. Close that box. And we should then just be able to drag our material onto the plane as such. There. And you see it's still a bit grey looking, so we're going to take our smoothness, take that up to 1, so it's completely smooth, transparent material. So now when we're moving around and we step off our world in alt space, we don't instantly fall down. So if you want to move your camera around, you can hold down the right click and you can use the WASD keys to move around, and you can use Q and E to go up and down as well. And obviously holding down the right key the whole time, you can look about the scene as well. Okay, so next we're going to set up for our audio. And to do so, we're going to need an audio source. So in our hierarchy window, we're going to right click. We're going to create an audio object. So it's in audio source. And then a new object comes into our scene with a speaker on it. So that is our audio source. So with our audio source selected here, you can position it into the center of the model. So similar to how we did before, just move it on the X and Z until it's there. So if we position it a little bit off, we can change our view to help us see a bit more clearly where the center of the model is. Okay, that works for me. So now the sound is in the middle of our statue, and you can see the circle around it shows us the fall off. So when you spatialize sound, it means that it gets louder and quieter the closer or further away you get. So the closer you are, the louder it becomes. The further away, the quieter, and obviously when you're looking away, the quietest. Okay, so inside our audio object, with the audio object selected, you can see inside the inspector. And this is where we put all of our settings for the audio. So we positioned it into the middle, and we want it to make sure that we're play on awake and that we loop the sound as it comes in. The second setting is to set the spatial blend then to 1, so that it is 3D. You can then set the max distance to reach the edge of the model. So the max distance will be, okay, so if we set that to 2.5 maybe. Okay, so you can see that the minimum distance is probably a bit bigger than the model, and the max distance is just on the outside. So when we're inside the sphere, we get our spatial sound, and it will roll off and drop away until we're outside of it, as such. Okay, so we need to have an audio source now to attach to this. So in our model folder, we're going to right click again, and we're going to import another new asset. And this is where we go to our audio folder. So back in 3D project, audio from camera in our case, and we're going to import this folder called head. And that's the audio from the field trip that we took earlier. Okay, and there it is. So Unity will take care of the audio, and we'll scale it down to make sure that it's workable. And we need to now apply this audio import that we've just imported to the audio source. So select your audio source in the hierarchy, and then drag and drop the audio file that you've just imported into the audio clip. So instead of saying none, it will now say head. And that's our audio sorted. So the next thing to do is to talk about Altspace. And in Altspace, you're going to need to sign up for an account. And once you've signed up for an account, I already have an account, so it will already log me in. You will have an option to download the desktop client, so get it now. I already have it here to save time, so I'm going to open that.